I don't often play down at Tier 4, but on one of my recent streams, somebody asked that I play the Tier 4 premium Russian destroyer Okhotnik, also known as the War Canoe, the Murder Sausage, various other names. This is a strange destroyer, no doubt. It's actually, in my opinion, one of the better seal clubbers out there. That's really the only reason that you would go down and play Tier 4 if you've been playing this game as I have for 5 years straight. I don't usually engage in the practice of seal clubbing, of course. It's very rude to the baby seals. You know, they don't want to be clubbed. I suppose they've got to learn the ways of the water sometime. So maybe the thought is if you go down and bash them over the head with a slightly overpowered ship, then they'll learn very quickly that half the time that they play World of Warships Legends, they will experience frustrating misery, and perhaps it's better to impart that knowledge in them sooner rather than later. Who knows? In any case, the Okhotnik is not an overpowered Tier 4 ship. I'd say if you want overpowered, you would want to go for the Kamikaze, which is not really regularly obtainable. I think the only way you can get it is buying the Firepower Deluxe Edition of World of Warships Legends, if that's even still available. Basically, that's the physical copy of the game, and it gives you the Kamikaze among some other premiums like the Arizona. You can probably buy it on Amazon, but you would not want to buy a used copy if you are trying to get the Kamikaze. The way you get it is by entering a code, and you essentially need to buy that code more than you do the physical edition. But if that sounds like too much risk and effort, well, you can buy the Okhotnik in the store for 6,250 doubloons. It's nowhere near overpowered like the Kamikaze, but it does have some interesting things going on, including the 7 guns. I don't think this was a real ship, but if it was designed with a lot of vodka around the drafting table. This thing has 7 guns. Most of them are on the back. They're all in single turrets. They have a very long reload time of about 10 seconds, and they take about 30 seconds to fully traverse, which is essentially battleship turret traverse speed. Doesn't feel too great, I suppose. The thing also has 12 torpedoes in 4 triple launchers. They've only got a 4.5 kilometer range, but that does not mean you can't use them, especially down at Tier 4. We'll see that coming up here in a little bit. But for now, we were trying to get a hold of this T-22 or whatever that destroyer was. I think it was a T-22. He's smoked up, and we don't necessarily want to push straight into him since he's got about 2 battleships behind him. And this game does have still 3 destroyers left floating, so we don't know. We don't want to put ourselves in a situation where we're just running headfirst into superior enemy numbers. So we're going to park it right here. Maybe we can get some torpedoes on the Giulio Cesare. He is approaching us about 1 kilometer out. Our concealment is not fantastic, of course. It's 5.7 kilometers. I think you can build into it a little bit more than I have. I haven't spec'd into concealment at all on this build, but no matter what you do, I don't think you're going to be getting it down below 4.5 kilometers, so it's not like you can stealth fire these torpedoes. Doesn't mean you can't use them, just means you have to be careful, and islands can help with that. We get a little bit too close to Giulio Cesare. His secondaries shoot at us, but miss. Battleship out there also shoots at us with the main battery guns and hits us. Good for him, I suppose. But we're concealed inside the smoke screen. T-22 is visible. Giulio Cesare is going to take himself behind the island, and that is a signal for us that we might be able to get some of these fish in the water. Just waiting for him to go around the island. Maybe now we can go out and take care of the T-22. The reload time on these guns, I think I already mentioned, is about 10 seconds. Very long time, but there are 7 of them, keep in mind. I don't think there's any other destroyer at Tier 4 with 7 guns. So even with a slow reload time, the Alpha Strike, the big knockout punch with this HE versus enemy destroyers, can be quite significant. I don't think we're going to get the opportunity yet to see that against the T-22, but hold that thought as Giulio Cesare continues around the island. Now, you would think perhaps that because there's a smoke screen right in front of him, he'd be a little bit more cautious. And maybe he doesn't see Okhotniks all the time, so he's not aware of the wall of skill coming his way. It's going to hit him, of course. There's no escape now. All 12 torpedoes. Of course, it's not going to take 12 to take him out. It's only going to take 4. He goes down for a devastating strike and our first kill of the game. And then we see a fellow Russian destroyer, a tech tree one over there, the Izyaslav. I can't remember if that is tier 4 or tier 3, but either way, he's tunnel visioned on a battleship, perhaps, that's right next to me. And you see that there, not even all the guns on target, and that's over 2,000 damage. Trying to turn here, the turrets are slower than the turn, but there, another hit for almost 3,000 damage. That's what I mean by the power of this alpha strike. Yes, long reload time, but when you get all the shells on target versus an enemy DD, it hurts them really, really badly. And it's not like tier 4 destroyers have very large HP pools either. I mean, what is that T-22 out there? Each bar of HP is roughly 5,000 HP or so. So he's got maybe 15,000 HP at best, probably a little bit less than that. He's being whittled down by the destroyer over there, who I think he's going to end up taking out. Ah, yes, another T-22. He does take him out. And that thing, that is, it's a hideous destroyer. It looks a bit like a tugboat. And, well, not a lot of HP left. 2 salvos, he's gone. That's all the enemy destroyers, save one. Don't know where that other one is, but I do know we have a New York encroaching on our base now. He's not exactly a fast battleship. It's going to take him a while to leave that corner of the map and actually approach our capture circle, but he's never going to get there if we have anything to say about it. It's another candidate, I would say, for a torpedo strike, but we do have to be cautious. If we are going to strike the New York, ideally we want to do it from behind an island like we did against the Giulio Cesare, or ideally we want to do it from the other side of his ships where his guns are not pointed. I'm pretty sure he just shot HE at me, and that's one thing you do have to be concerned about if you are going to engage in the evil practice of seal clubbing down at tier 4. A lot of battleships do shoot high explosive from their guns, which is not ideal if they're shooting at you in a cruiser, but, well, it is ideal if they're shooting at you and you're playing a destroyer. You want to avoid that. Speaking of which, another Russian destroyer, the Podvoisky, which if memory serves me, this is the tier 4. We sunk the tier 3 earlier, and there goes the tier 4. That's 4 kills in this game. Only 50,000 damage done, but the majority of that against destroyers with small HP pools. So this ought to be worth at least somewhat decent XP. The Bellerophon out there, a ship that I don't see often, but then again, I don't really play down at these tiers very often. He also shoots at us with HE, so you see what I'm talking about, the danger of new battleship players who have not yet discovered the magical properties of AP. Shooting HE at destroyers, very scary. Bellerophon, though, is turning away, and we've lost track of the New York, who was behind that island. I assume he's still heading towards our base. He's really got nothing except me in between him and the capture circle, so you would think perhaps he'd be making a beeline for that base, but his beeline is going to be slow. New York is not a fast ship by any stretch of the imagination. The carcass of the dead Podvoisky blocks our forward progress. We have to get ourselves away from that thing as it sinks into the depths. And there's New York. He hasn't made it very far past that island because, again, he is not very fast. And he's alone. He's got no friends around him. I'm sure he's got his guns pointed in this direction. But it looks like he's going to begin to maneuver and perhaps make a turn toward the friendly base. He's very close to spotting us. Our concealment is, once again, only 5.7, but now we're trying to see if it's possible to get the torpedoes on target via stealth fire. I think it might be against ships that are faster than the New York. maybe the Giulio Cesare. He's a fairly fast battleship at tier 4, but for something that crawls across the water like this thing, I don't think we're going to be getting these torpedoes in the water without being spotted. Friendly CV is coming in, though. He seems to recognize the threat that the New York, who is almost at full health, poses to the enemy cap, although it's probably going to take him the remainder of the 5 minutes left in this game to even get there. He's certainly taking his time. CV is dropping him, and we're just waiting to see if there's anything we can do, essentially. New York looks like he's turned slightly to go more toward the map border, but he's turning in once again. And once again, I think we're here trying to see if we can stealth torp him. Don't think it's going to happen, but we do have an island right here that potentially we could use. And wait, remember, the torpedo distance on these things is only 4.5 kilometers. We're at 4.7, 4.6. Can we stealth torp the New York? Wow, 4.5. It looks like we can, at least a little bit. We are going to put the torps in the water. Seems like New York is committed. Of course, there we get spotted, but we do have a smoke screen left. And now the friendly CV is going to do something rather clutch here. He's going to come in with his torpedo bombers and launch them at the New York, which is going to prompt the New York to turn away from those torpedoes and then line up more squarely into my salvo. CV hits him with all his torps, and then mine come in and get the Kraken unleashed and the second dev strike of this game against a battleship. You just have to be careful with these torpedoes. As you can see, they're not unusable, even if they are at danger close range. You've got things like smoke screens and islands to help you out with that. But anyway, Kraken unleashed in the ultimate little seal clubber here, the Okhotnik. Very fun ship, very unique. Nothing else like it in the game, really. Again, a bit of a vodka-infused design, no doubt. But it can be fun. Can also be feast or famine, of course. Sometimes there are things that, you just can't do it. If the enemy team is going to lose very quickly, or win very quickly, rather, and the blue team is going to go down, it can be hard to sort of carry a game in a destroyer like this. That being said, we are sitting here looking at a Kraken unleashed and 2 devastating strikes, 76,000 damage done. Not the most impressive amount of damage to be sure, but this game is wrapped up. I will say, too, we are approaching the holiday season. It's November, and by the end of the month, we'll have Black Friday. I don't know if there will be any discounts on premiums in the store. There will certainly be Black Friday ships that will be discounted. I doubt the Okhotnik will be one of them. I don't think it ever has been on PC, and I doubt it ever will be on Legends. But you can pick it up for 6,250 doubloons in the store right now. Or, if you're in the market for any kind of Tier 4 premium, and it turns out that they're going to offer some discounts on ships in the store for doubloons during the Black Friday time, maybe this would be a good one to pick up. Like I said, it's an effective seal clubber. As you can see in this game, there we get the high caliber metal with that shot against the Bellerophon and a fire to increase our damage totals just a little bit. But it is a good seal clubber. You just have to use a little bit, perhaps, more caution, more positioning awareness, and more thought than you would in something like the Kamikaze, which no doubt is overpowered, perhaps one of the most overpowered ships tier for tier in this game, but it can also demolish things with torpedoes from stealth. Okhotnik is the polar opposite. You have to be spotted in order to launch these torpedoes. So this ship, unlike the Kamikaze, that would be good for more, shy seal clubbers who want to remain anonymous. This ship is for seal clubbers who have, no bones to pick about seal clubbing and are proud to be known as seal clubbers because they're always going to be spotted by the enemy team. The enemy team is going to know exactly who torpedoed them with 12 torpedoes because it's going to be right in front of their face and there's still nothing they can do about it. So if that sounds appealing to you, you may very well enjoy the Okhotnik. There we get a fisting ribbon to top off the damage that we've done in this game and the Kraken Unleashed. And if we had more than 30 seconds left, or 20, or whatever it is, maybe we could get these torpedoes on target against the Wyoming. In fact, we probably could have if we had been just a little bit more aggressive and turned this Kraken into a six pack. Although the Wyoming could have dev struck us out of the water as well, and we could be sinking, and this game would end on a sad note. But it ends in our glorious victory. Thanks in large part to the Okhotnik's great ability, honestly, to deal with enemy destroyers through the big Alpha Strike, and the torpedo danger that it does represent. Not quite 2,000 base XP, 1,800, about 1,900. Not bad results, I'd say, for a tier 4 seal clubbing game. Hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.